We asked Brantford City officials to participate in simulations designed to replicate an experience of a person with a disability in order to deepen their understanding of the importance of providing accessible services.
Hi, I'm Jenny Suicki. I'm the city's accessibility coordinator. The accessibility coordinator for the city is in charge of making everything accessible for all constituents and visitors to the city of Brantford. We work on city facilities, events, customer service, and communications to ensure that everything is accessible for a range of disabilities within the city of Brantford.
So with the list of headings, if you've been...
Karen McCull, an accessible document design consultant and educator, is showing the City of Brantford's Ward 1 councillor, Rose Sicoli, how to use a screen reader, which converts digital text into synthesized speech to help people with visual and other disabilities.
I'm a Canadian delegate to the ISO International Standards Organization that creates the standards for PDF and accessible PDF. So as well as educating people on how to create more accessible digital content, I'm also helping shape the standards and the direction of digital accessibility.
This whole thing was very challenging to me, navigating through the various titles and how important those titles and those subheadings are to a document. I had no idea. I never would have thought twice about that if I were writing something. Being able to experience that just puts everything into a different perspective. What I know now, I think it's a question that we'll ask when we're saying, let's put this notice out. Okay, well, let's make sure we're looking at it through the appropriate lens now and making sure that we're supporting our accessibility department to be able to do everything that they need to do so that the public can have access to all of the information without any restriction.
Our Accessibility Advisory Committee is primarily made up of persons with disabilities or representative of disability service organizations. So I think it's important to have that experience around the table. Those decisions are being made with the accessibility lens of persons with lived experience, not someone who, has maybe read a design manual and thinks that they know exactly how something can be done.
Brantford's Ward 5 councillor, Mandy Samwell, is simulating an experience of a person with a hearing disability interacting with a customer service representative.
I don't feel like I faced any challenges today, but I could see how there could be challenges if it wasn't handled the way that it was today. But because there was a device for me able to help me hear better, that was fantastic. And then there was also the option to write things down, so I think that those were both very helpful. It made me feel empathetic for other folks that have hearing loss and concerns and disabilities, but I also felt that it made me feel very grateful of the staff that we have here at the City of Brantford and how well that went.
From the standpoint of the retrofit to City Hall, but the overall design was really designed with universal accessibility in mind.
We've made sure there is space for maneuverability and approach to main amenities such as service counters, push buttons, controls, and things like that. We have considered acoustics in meeting rooms, as well as we have assisted listening devices available. We also have a portable listening device that can be moved to any room. We have universal washrooms, which have adult change tables, as well as appropriate space for any support persons who may need to assist. We've considered color contrast and braille and signages, wayfinding signage, and of course training for our staff.
The City of Brantford's Mayor Kevin Davis has put on some low vision simulator goggles and will be navigating a crosswalk in downtown Brantford. Brian Gall, an orientation and mobility instructor at W. Ross McDonald School in Brantford, and one of his students, are providing instruction to the mayor for this simulated experience.
When you're forced to move away from the sense of sight, and rely on touch and sound, I realized how dependent you are on something like a crosswalk signal and making sure it's functioning properly. You have to listen for certain sounds and cues that are built into the system. The raised, knobbly surfaces you see at intersections, understanding how important that is when you're using a cane, because that tells you you've finished crossing the street. You have to consider the interests of everyone who's using the downtown when you're doing something like as simple as designing a street.
Nathan is a person who uses an augmentative communication device. He's visiting the Wayne Gretzky Sports Center with his support worker to learn more about their drop-in swim program.
Hi there, how can I help you today?
Hello, what time does the drop-in for swimming?
Dylan sets an example of inclusive service. Dylan makes eye contact, speaks directly to Nathan instead of his support worker, and gives him the time he needs to communicate.
How much is it for me to go and my worker?
By treating Nathan with respect and patience, Dylan showed how small actions can make a big difference and make city facilities more welcoming for everyone.
All of our swim schedules laid out. You're welcome, have a nice day.
The city is doing a great job in providing training to staff.
I would encourage policymakers to go through this practice and really experience hands-on what it's like to try to navigate the various systems with a disability of some sort. And I would encourage all organizations in the private sector as well to maybe explore what this looks like so that they are able to offer their services unencumbered within the city.
I think the insights that are gained through this project will allow us to better understand what people are facing in our community.
Just taking a minute out of your daily life to experience what life is like for someone who doesn't have the same set of senses as you do. It helps you to be more understanding.
Certainly involving our residents who have disabilities and soliciting feedback. And if we don't get something right, recognizing that we maybe need to look at things differently.
The main point of accessibility and the hugest benefit is full participation by everybody in our community. Everybody should feel included and important in what they do in their everyday living.
Brantford.ca/accessibility. We welcome your accessibility feedback at accessibility@brantford.ca.